Boston Bruins have moved on from head coach Jim Montgomery in a move that was kind of expected since about this morning, but a move that was pretty highly anticipated as well for quite some time. After a lot of reports, a lot of struggles from the Bruins early season. It was really debated whether it be Jim Montgomery, whether trades were going to happen, whether Don Sweeney would give Jim Montgomery the option to throw some new players into this lineup. But at the end of the day, and now with the official decision, Jim Montgomery is gone from the Boston Bruins. Now, I do have a lot of screenshots from the video I had earlier today, which came out at a very unfortunate time because of the fact that we now see Jim Montgomery actually gone. And in that video, I did a lot of speculation talk, a lot of discussions about what's going to happen if this does happen, if not, if is a credible report. And so it was. And going back to this, the tweet I was at this morning, Rich Keefe, the Bruins to fire Jim Montgomery and Joe Sacco taking over. And so it was. And the reaction I've been seeing on Twitter has been pretty, mediocre. It hasn't been too much an agreement, too much, positive or negative in the matter of fact. Kind of just been like, yeah, this is a move that had to be made, but this probably won't solve anything, which is quite interesting to come at it. But overall, what do we think about the move? I think is the main question I want to ask here in the stream, and more of a reason why I'm streaming rather than making a video is that I want the live reactions. I want to know what everybody's thinking. I want to know what the Bruins community feels was the right move. Is this the right move? Is this one that was just had to happen, or what do we think? It was time when somebody says he has no answer, no brainers to move on. I absolutely agree. And that's one thing I've been stating in the videos lately has been, having no answer to why the team is struggling has been a really big part that the Bruins may want to move on from. May really want to kind of consider elsewhere if the coach himself has no idea why this is being made or why the team has been struggling. But now we see where that may result in any head coaching. So if you're a head coach saying you don't know what's wrong, watch out, or either get your resume updated. I agree with everyone saying it was going to happen, but it's not going to help. I think that was a big part of it as well, is that what I've been mentioning as well is Jim Montgomery can't put on the skates. He's not the one that can go out there and play for these players. He can only tell them what to do. And with the roster moves that he's been making, the lineup changes he's been making, he hasn't been able to make roster moves. So it's not all on him. And I'm going to stick by that until the end. And I'm also going to have to update my background now as well. If you can see the one going behind me, I believe there's pictures of Jim Montgomery here somewhere. May have to put a few in of Joe Sacco, but back to the topic, back to the thing in question. Sweeney next. I agree. Sweeney has to go next. Depending on it, it will depend how the season turns around. If we turn around here and we see this team start to kind of go back on the up, we know that it could be right move. It could be the right thing to keep Don Sweeney, and it could have been truly a real tell that Jim Montgomery actually was the issue. But I really don't see this team turning around just yet, because it was Jim Montgomery. I don't think it was on him. So if we continue to still be bad near the end of the season, Don Sweeney has to be on the chopping block. He has to be. He lost the room, but it was time to move on. I absolutely agree. Very similar to the way we've seen Bruce Cassidy. He was still having a bit of success and everything, but it just the voice in the room got slow. It didn't really start to hit the players the same and everything, and I think that's a big issue as well now. But there was an excuse with the Bruins not being the team that they were supposed to be to fire Jim Montgomery. Yeah, and I agree, Nate. The game against Columbus was really when we started to kind of think about it even more and actually start to think of it as a reality rather than just something that would continue to be spoken about. And now that we're seeing him gone from this team after that game, I think that was really the telltale sign from the management of this team that it was time to move on and change the roster with a big trade. Something has to happen now. Something needs to happen after Jim Montgomery. That was not going to be the only move, and I'm expecting more to come. But whether it is now an immediate turnaround of the Bruins making a trade for someone, I don't know. But I do hope that something is done. Something needs to be done other than just getting rid of Jim Montgomery as well. I'm seeing a lot of you guys fire Sweeney as well. That's the next thing. that's what we're going to have to look at next, is if Don Sweeney continues to leave this team be and let Joe Sacco kind of work with what he was kind of given, although he still was working with them anyways, but now him being to blame for this, that's going to be the end of Don Sweeney here with this Bruins team. And not just Don Sweeney either. Cam Neely as well. A lot of you guys are saying that as well. Cam Neely also has to be part of that group of players that are going to be on the chopping block for this season. And no more cup run. It don't seem like it, but I think the Bruins did it early enough in the season where things can turn around. It's a bit later than what a lot of people are saying and what we've been seeing, but there's still time. But I don't think this team actually has enough to do it. I agree with that, Hardy. They should have... Zadorov was a good addition, but they needed more... They needed someone who could put the puck in the back of the net. They needed more of that, and that was a big issue. And Pierre LeBrun tweeted this out 27 minutes ago. Joe Sacco has the interim tag, but the Bruins will give him a real look before reaching out to any other candidates. My understanding is there won't be a coaching search for now. Sacco is well-liked and well-respected within the organization and gets a real crack at it first. So that's going to be something I think we're going to have to look at for the rest of the season. I think that having Sacco, come in and see if he can turn this team around himself will be a big thing to watch, along with, the watch of Don Sweeney's career as well. Because I know a lot of people are going to be calling for his head, and I don't want to say rightfully so, but it is quite a bit to blame about him for the way this team was constructed to begin the season with. And it wasn't just all Don Sweeney or all Jim Montgomery. It was just kind of a bit of everything that really made the Bruins stink. And, looking at where we saw the record for Jim Montgomery go, right here. We're in Boston, 184 games, 120 wins, 41 losses, 23 overtime losses. That's a very good record. That's a very, very good record, but it just goes to show that and it don't matter what your record is. If you're not coaching well, you're not coaching well, and it's the way it goes. And I think I said 184 wins, 120 losses, and 41 overtime losses in the video. That'd be horrible if that was it, but yeah, got that right this time. It's the main thing. Remember the Blues, the year they won the Cup? They started horribly and turned around. I'm still hoping. Exactly, I agree. I completely agree, Brian. And same with the Oilers last year. We saw how the Oilers played bad, changed their coach, go on to the Stanley Cup Finals. They didn't win, but they got there, and they played well throughout the rest of the season. Like, very, very well. I agree, Joe, as well. I want to see more of these guys come up from the AHL. I think Fabian Lysell should be next. We saw Georgi Merkulov come up, playing well so far. Now, only a small sample size, but I want to see some more of these younger guys come up, and I really think they're going to have a lot of potential. And just come out and play hard. Does this mean Monty wins the 2026 NHL Stanley Cup? If it does, we have a curse. I think that's really the only option to go off of there. But I do think Jim Montgomery will be definitely an interesting coach that a lot of teams are going to be going after, whether it is a head coach, assistant coach. He knows how to win. There was early struggles, but I don't think it was because of him. And I'll be honest, and I think that he's going to be a very good coach elsewhere. Trade Zadorov and trade Frederic for Ovechkin. If Ovechkin was not week to week, I would say yes. But, Zadorov also has a no-move clause, so it could be a bit of an issue. But if I'm the Bruins, I'd go out and do that immediately. Go for a cup this year. He's so bad, but I mean, hey, it would be cool to see him. Yeah, I agree there as well about the position that the Bruins were kind of in with Jim Montgomery. It wasn't the most ideal. He was kind of handed not a great team, worked with it, and went from there. And it's it sucks. I do wish him the best. I know he's a good coach, and I didn't really want to fire him, but something had to happen. And the easiest excuse right now is to fire the head coach. There's also a factor of not being able to put the puck in the back of the net. We need speed. We need everything. But it's just easy to blame the coach right now from a management standpoint, unfortunately. Yeah, no, they're not anywhere near the Oilers last year, but just we saw what difference it could make by changing the coach. Like the locker room felt something different. It looked different. It looked like a brand new team, even though nothing was done. Realistically, nothing major was done. And that's the thing as well. Building chemistry is very, very hard when you have to change the lines up. But I understand that Jim Montgomery couldn't go out and leave the same lines every time that they're losing, by 5 goals or whatever. And it seemed like Don Sweeney didn't really care. Don Sweeney didn't make a roster move. Don Sweeney didn't make a change. And that's where kind of left us now that he had to make those moves. And it sucks. It really does suck. Gasoline Cowboy, that's exactly what I'm saying. The Bruins have very young, talented, fast players in the AHL, and they don't call them up. I understand you're trying to win, but those guys are going to make you have a better chance to win with the speed they have. There's a lot of skill in the AHL that is not talked about, and I think that's something that they're going to have to explore, and I think they should explore when this season starts to go even worse if things do not change quickly. Yeah, I Freeman has some inside knowledge, so he may just try to say something without saying something directly, but him bringing that up will definitely imply something about the coaching where he's going to probably talk about soon. Yeah, the Oilers players are actually good. This team has good players, but they're not playing good, which is realistically a big tell as to why the season struggles have been happening, why the season has stunk for the Bruins. But I do hope that Joe Sacco has some sort of plan up his sleeve. I know that he's not the most experienced coach. He definitely has some experience, but I'm hoping that he's just going to go out and try something and say that, I need to turn this team around. I have to get something to happen. So I need to plan something out to make me stay a head coach. And hopefully he just kind of goes all out, really goes all out and just be like, hey, I got nothing to lose. Let's go out and try something that is just absolutely crazy and see if it works and see if it sticks. And that will be that'd be pretty cool to see, especially knowing that something could happen in a positive fashion. Yeah, I agree, Gasoline Cowboy. They're making moves, but it's not the ones that should be made at all. And Sweeney, I've seen that where Sweeney fired 2 coaches in 3+ seasons. He'd be better off firing. Yeah, it's time for Don Sweeney. Don Sweeney has to think now that it's not the coaching staff, and this is all with ownership as well. And things have to come down to it and be analyzed. And after the season, I would not be surprised if Don Sweeney is not with the Bruins no more. And yeah, Lysell's not playing horrible in the AHL. He's not playing great, but I think that, there's such of a big leap from AHL to NHL that I think that it would work out well to have him just come up and see what works. He may not play great, but why not? I think that's a good point there as well, Brave, is that Jim Montgomery has a coaching style that I think is suited for more of a veteran lineup, and especially this season, we kind of seen that transition from a younger to a younger lineup with many players come up from the AHL. A few younger guys that are trying to push to make a move in this team or make waves in the Bruins community, and Monty's just not that guy, I don't think, and I think it's a big part of it as well. I don't want to blame it fully on him, as I mentioned, but there are still quite a few like inside things that we got to look at as well. Yeah, the Bruins need to get some retooling going. I think what they need to do is they need to acquire a bunch of picks, go into the draft, and retool Providence. They got a lot of young, good guys down there, but they need more. They have a lot of veterans down there as well, which I don't think you can reason with, really. The farm team should be used to call a lot of people up. Now, you need to have some of those guys down there who can guide a team as well, but you need to have a lot of young players that are developed and can be up in a moment's notice. Cap-wise, how bad are the Bruins locked in for the next 5 years? I can actually go and get that on Puckpedia. I can pull it up. I'll screenshot it and pull it up as well. They have cap projections over the next few seasons, so I will... I'll probably freeze here for a minute. I'm taking a screenshot of this, and I'll put it up on the stream. And for those who weren't in the video, I do apologize. I'm a bit sick, so if I do sound a bit nasally or whatever, don't worry about it. As you can see here, though, the projected cap space for 4 seasons is $36 million. So this is currently 2024, 2025, so we're currently at 1.7. Next year, we have $20 million, which is quite a bit. However, that does include some players that will be getting new deals, but nothing that really will be a major hit to the cap space. So I think the Bruins have a lot of money to work with next season, or they should, realistically. It will all really depend, I think, on how much Brad Marchand is going to make on this contract. This next one, I should say. Yeah, Forrest, I agree. The players just didn't seem to actually get the message anymore. And I don't think that Sacco will have a major boost in any like play style or whatnot, or like success from the team, but I think that it will be good to get a new voice. It'd be good to get a new voice for sure. And yeah, I agree. So I've seen a lot of you guys saying Marchand is showing his age. I absolutely agree with that. He's still a great leader, but on the ice now has been something that is kind of concerning to look at. So hopefully that his contract next one, I would love for him to get paid. I want him to stay a Bruin, but I'm a bit hesitant on what we're going to be looking at for his next contract. I don't want to give him too much. Where was that? I was just looking at next year as well. Yeah, okay. So I was talking about that's what it was. The cap is going up as well, which is a big thing. It's like projected 97 million at some point over the next few seasons. But so obviously all of here 88 million in the cap limit, which is what it is now, and they're not projecting that going up. So realistically, next year you're seeing 19 million. That could be actually upwards of like 22, 23, depending on how much it goes up, and it could be even more. Which is good, very good for the Bruins. And Marchand retiring next year, I think that could be an interesting thing to look at after the season. If the Bruins suck next year and they kind of go into rebuild phase, I think that's a possibility of what we could see. I think it's a possibility that we do see Marchand end up retiring, maybe go into a different role with the team. But right now, at this very moment, I'm going to say no. That's an interesting thing as well. Maybe they go a season without a captain. I think that McAvoy and Pastrnak could be captains, but right now, this season, they haven't really proved that they could. They've been with the team for quite some time, but the leadership from those guys just don't seem to be there. Maybe they go a few assistant captains. Maybe they kind of evaluate from there as well. But right now, that's a good question. A very good question. Also, having him traded, that's an interesting one as well. Having a trade for Brad Marchand, I don't see it really, but I think that it would be something that they would ask him. You know, obviously not anything, you know, crazy, but like it would be considered that if he wanted to move, if he asked the organization, I think they would be willing to do that. And Michael Sullivan just tweeted out Joe Sacco's NHL coaching record, and I will pull that up on the screen as well for those who don't really get a full understanding or know who he is. It's a nice little thing to be able to look at here as well. Let me move that over. Oh, no, not the background. Give me a moment. There we go. Yeah, as you can see here. In 2009-2010, 95 points, 43-30. 2010-11, 30-48, or 30-44-8, 2011-2012, 41-35-6, 2012-2013, 16-25-7. Not the best record, but once again, it's a new voice. Easier to go for this now than search for a coach later on. Build a new team, and I don't think that Sacco is going to be probably the leading candidate for actual, like, you know, taking the interim tag off, but if he can turn around, there is perhaps a way to do that. Yeah, and he needs to fix special teams, and he was the guy that was leading the penalty kill, which was not horrible last year, but this year it's been pretty tough as well. Well, I shouldn't say it's been tough. It's been okay, but it hasn't been as good as we'd like to see it. Bergeron as head coach, I don't hate it. You know, I don't hate it, but I don't think it happens just yet. I think he wants some more time to just kind of chill out and stuff, but down the road, down the line, I can see it very vaguely, but I don't know if it would be the most optimal way, I'd say. A 2-year, $3.5 million extension for Marchand. That's what I would do. That's a contract I would do, yeah. Looking at it now, that's a reasonable one for his future. Mike Sullivan back with the Bruins. There was a tweet that I was looking at a moment ago as well that was discussing the idea of the Bruins potentially waiting for Mike Sullivan if he got fired by the Penguins to pick him back up. That was something that I would entertain. That's something I would very much entertain, and I think that's what they might do at the end of the season if, of course, Mike Sullivan either gets fired or if his contract is out, maybe. I don't know what his contract is like, but I'd like that option. Joel Quenneville, I think, is another option as well, but that might be on the more hesitant side, depending on what the Bruins would like to do, because he is more of that veteran-style coaching as well. Why won't we fire Sweeney? Timothy, I don't know. You know, I think that, I think they're waiting for, excuse me. I do apologize if that was really loud. I think they're going to wait for the end of the season. I think that they're going to wait for an actual time period where they have the open to really do anything they can need to, anything they want to do, and go from there. Right now, though, I don't think they would fire Sweeney mid-season just because they want to kind of get a full season out of him, see what he can do, and then if they turn it around, go from there. But once again, Timothy, as well, as I mentioned earlier in the stream and in the video today, it's easier to fire the coach. It's an easier excuse to fire the coach. So that's what I think the reason is right now, but I do think that Sweeney, Neely need to go. I think this team needs an overhaul. Yeah, like a lot of you guys are having that reaction as well. I'm going to put a poll in the chat. And we will go from there. There we go. Got the poll up. I see someone as well say those free agent signings were terrible. I agree. You know, I like the idea of them. I like the idea of having that at the number, like, you know, whatever, 1B center, 1A center. But I do think that they could have been better. They could have been better. It seemed like they wanted to go from those guys with trades as well. So they were in a bit of a situation as well. Like they didn't have too much cap space and all of that. But, you know, it's all we can do. with that now. I think we have to look forward next season, and as the cap space that I just had up a moment ago, 19 million plus whatever the cap goes up by, they have a great opportunity to do some things here. Great opportunity, and re-sign some of the guys that need to be back into this lineup. Oh, thank you for the bless you. I appreciate it. Yeah, that's what Peter as well. That's what I was, kind of thinking about at the beginning of the season. I believe I talked about that in a video as well. Was that the Bruins tried, and what it looked like they tried to do was go down the bigger player route. They tried to go down the route where you have just a big team, a lot of players that are just going to be big but slow. And I don't know why. The league is only getting younger. It's getting faster. It's getting quicker. It's getting more skilled. So it was only a matter of fact that it was not going to work out. And it seemed like they tried to go back to the big bad Bruins style of hockey, but I hate to say it, but that hockey don't really work anymore. And I think this is a prime example for this Bruins team that we're able to kind of break that down and be able to confirm that. Yeah, like that's, I mean, the NHL is so fast now. Like, you don't see a team that has no fast players really. I mean, the Bruins right now, which I hate to say, but we need speed. We need real speed. Zadorov, yeah, that's a big part of it. Well, Zadorov signing, that was one that they just tried to go big, tried to go, physical, but he hasn't used his physicality very much. It's only been recently he's actually started to use it. And still, it hasn't even really worked out too much. Brave, I agree. That is a very, very good idea, as well as Trent Frederic trying to get that extension. And for those who didn't see that one, Trent Frederic trying to get an extension while he's still, but not playing great, and kind of lock him up. So obviously, we want to see Trent Frederic back. It would be nice to see him come back, and where he's not playing great right now, lock him up at a cheaper price, saying we need to see more. We need to see more out of you, but we believe in you. Yeah, the poll is very unanimous. Yes, fire Don Sweeney. 88% of you guys are saying yes, Don Sweeney's the next to be fired, and that seemed like the unanimous decision as well. And I will make a video about that as well. So, if you guys are interested in that, hit the sub button if you haven't already. A lot of videos are going to be coming out about this as well. And when we get a lot more stuff to hear. Very interested to see what more of Don Sweeney has said, but that will come out. I'm assuming over the next few weeks. Let's see. Nietzsche, I was very, very high on Martin Nietzsche. He was someone that I wanted. I was praying the Bruins would sign. I think I had like multiple videos. I had 2 or 3 videos about him saying we need to sign him. Trade for his right, sign the extension. He'll be amazing. But, they ended up getting Elias Lindholm, who ultimately is not as good as Nietzsche and older than Nietzsche. Marley's editing, yeah, I know. That's one thing that's been painful to watch. Is trying to watch Marchand do the things he did when he was younger, like just be a playmaker. Like, he don't have that anymore, which it sucks to say. Feels like I'm getting old, getting unk status, but like, still, it's bad to watch a lot of the times. It's really, really bad. It's disappointing to watch. Not even bad, disappointing. There are a lot of players that they missed out on. I'm also going to look at the upcoming free agents. I'm going to see if I can do that on Puckpedia. I don't know if they have an option for that. I know Cap Friendly used to, but the Washington Capitals bought them out. Of course they had to. Make our lives harder. Yeah, like, we need to we need to get a lot of picks. We need to start trading for picks instead of trading away our picks. Bolster up the AHL. Bolster up the depth on this team. That's what we're waiting for. That's what we need. Like, we need young speed, young talent. It's going to be very hard to bounce back from booze on home ice. I think the only way that they can really have a chance of doing that is to go out, win the next game at home by 5. Show something different. Show some grit. And that's where we'll actually see some stuff coming from them. 2025 free agents. Who do we have? Mikko Rantanen is one of them. Brock Besser. Nikolai Ehlers. Who else? Andrei Kuzmenko. Just spitballing some names here. Nobody anyone is specific, but some of these names are some of the younger side, some of the UFAs that I think would be a very good option. Oh, yeah. At the end of the day, there's quite a few options I think could be very good for the Bruins. Pasta also needs to step up and stop being lazy. So many times he gets sent down to the second line playing bad. Yeah, he's not been great lately. And hopefully, that'll be figured out soon. That'll be figured out, quicker than what it looks like, hopefully at least. And now, hopefully, just a new voice in the locker room will also sort some things out. Just kind of take the stress away from this team. Hopefully, something like that. And that's why I think that this move was made immediately for, is to just try and get a bounce back in the locker room. Zegras. Now, the Zegras conversation. Let's go back to it. Thank you, Brave, for bringing that up as well. I discussed that in a few videos ago. I believe the last one I discussed trade. This is an interesting one because it really seems like Zegras is not happy. Really not happy in Anaheim. And I know that he hasn't had the best stats. He hasn't really had, the best career so far. And he is one of the most overrated players in the NHL. But I'm not saying that he's bad. He's just, a lot of people think he's very, very, very good, which he's not very, very good. He's good, just good. And I hope that he become available. And if he'd be cheap, that would be a very interesting thing for the Bruins to do. But when you look at that as well, trading for Zegras also will add more cap to your team, and then having the guys like Mikko Rantanen and Brock Besser, that's some of the ones that you guys are saying that you like as well, that makes it harder to get those guys. Now, I don't want to say harder, but the cap space being taken up allows for less room to be able to sign those guys. Exactly. And in the video that I did, the close-up of him after scoring the goal, he looked disappointed. And, you see a guy like Zegras come out here being super excited to score a goal, and then he's just looking like he wants to go home. Like, that's a sign that you don't want to be there. Yeah, Zegras wouldn't help this team right now. And I guess that's kind of contradictory to what I'm saying, but I think that having a young, talented, speedy, skilled player in the locker room will help kind of boost the momentum, boost the energy right now, while also being able to develop him with some veteran players, some guys that can actually put the puck in the back of the net normally, like David Pastrnak, and a center like Elias Lindholm. It would be good. No, 82 saw they actually did fire Jim Montgomery. They did. I made a video earlier kind of discussing what the possibility of the tweet was that came out earlier from WEEI, but now official. I had to pop on the stream because I was like, I'll let the video just sit, and make sure people are tuning into the stream, but that is legit. And, David, I agree with you there as well. Sweeney's not going to help this team no more. I think that his time is up. He's had his opportunity, and it don't work. So who do you trade for Zegras? That's where it gets a bit interesting as well, because I think it will all depend on the value that the Ducks have on him. I think that he's definitely going to have quite a bit of value, probably more than he's worth, but it's nearly not going to be as much as what a lot of people are hoping for and a lot of people are thinking. You're good, 82 Saw. It only happened about an hour ago too now, so I'm still kind of trying to process it all and kind of think about what the Bruins' plan is, I guess. But going back to Zegras as well, I don't think they're going to want too much from him. I think that the Ducks want some younger NHL ready players. So, they're probably looking for a guy like Trent Frederic, who I'm not confident in trading right now, but I don't think it's that difficult to be able to trade for him right now. Yeah, Citizen Soldier, they just need someone who's going to tell them the basics. Keep them at the basics rather than trying to make a move in the neutral zone, then move going on the blue line, a move to get past the defender, and overall turn the puck and come back on an odd man rush. That's been a big part of the Bruins sucking, I guess, this season. And yeah, as well, someone who can create offense. That's they want a spark on offense, and I think that's going to be something that is not going to come immediately, but something that hopefully turns around soon. We get any more updates on Twitter as well. And if you do see me looking down, I'm looking at my phone as well, trying to see if we get any more updates on anything. While we're live, of course. Kapanen would have been one that I'm not sure about. A couple years ago, he was statistically the worst player in the NHL, which is kind of crazy to think about. I can't see why that'd be the case, but when you add up all the stats, he was advanced analytics, I guess we could say. He was one of the worst players out there. Geeky and maybe Wotherspoon for Zegras. I don't hate it. The only thing right now is the injuries on defense. I think trading Wotherspoon will be detrimental. But if it does mean getting Zegras, I would do it. Because if they do that, the team's kind of admitting that they need a retool, not a rebuild, but a heavy retool. And if they do that from there, maybe. Yeah, no, I don't want to trade. I don't want to trade Frederic either. Trading Zacha, Coyle, and Geeky and one of the defensemen. I agree with that. Those I think are the ones that are set that could be traded and have really seemed to be potential suitors to be traded. Pasta, Lindholm, and Marchand should work as a line. Yeah, it should work. And I don't understand why it don't. Watching that line go out for a period and then having it being changed by Jim Montgomery after really was the thing that set the Bruins off on a wrong foot. But ultimately, they had their chances with that and it seemed to not work. Yeah, Kuzmenko is on the last year of his deal, so I think that he'd be more of a rental for teams. I think teams would be willing to probably pay more than the Bruins would. Farabee and Zegras, though, I think are also ones that I would love to see. Love to see. What do I think about Joel Quenneville as coach again in the NHL? I don't hate it. I think there's much worse coaches, but there are a few better. I think Joel Quenneville's style of coaching is better suited for an older style of team. The Bruins are kind of that team right now, but I think their goal is to get younger. So I think Quenneville probably could work this season, but I think the Bruins are trying to think about it in the long term and over the next few seasons about how they want to make it work and how they're trying to turn it around without going into one of these big, deep rebuilds for the next few seasons. Because the Bruins are never a rebuilding team. They're always kind of that win now team or just on the edge of win now. And that's what they're planning on. Or not planning on, those are trying to stay in. Boston is trading Hampus Lindholm in time. I don't know. Because he's been one of the better players. He's been one of the better players this season, and his value is super high right now, which I think is something that you have to consider as well. So I think that'll also go into how they play down the road, how we get closer to the trade deadline, and who's available. Who's available on this team, who's available elsewhere, and what the plan of attack is over the next, I'm going to say, 3 seasons. Yeah, exactly, the Aslan Cowboy. I'm in the same boat. I don't want to see him go, but if it comes down to him being a massive bargaining chip, you have to. I do think that is a bit too much for Zegras editing. I think that, well, actually, no. Yes, okay, I should say, that's probably what it would take to get him, but I don't think he's worth that much. I also think the Bruins want to keep this first-round pick up of next season because I think that they want to get better in the deeper side of things. Max Jones, both Lindholms and Andrew Peeke. Interesting there. I also don't hate it. I think that they're going to keep Elias Lindholm just for the fact this season that he's been that center for them. He's trying to be that number 1 center, but Hampus, Jones, and Peeke, I'm going to say yes. Yeah, geeky, no doubt as well. That's one that I'm surprised he hasn't been traded already. I thought that was going to be the move they did before doing anything, before firing anybody. But ultimately, they didn't bother doing it. They did not bother doing it. I do have these as well. We kind of went on a very long tangent then, but I mean, the chat's going crazy. Your sport's been absolutely incredible. Looking at this, this was from the article that was posted earlier about this whole thing. This morning from WEEI. So Montgomery had seemingly tried just about everything he could think of. Tried to spark this team, but none of it worked. After trying to keep fairly consistent line combinations earlier in the season, he had to resort to frequent juggling in recent weeks, only occasionally and temporarily finding anything that clicked. And that was a big factor as well. We've seen the changes. We've seen that all that stuff in the lineup that was bound to happen, and finally did. So, another piece that we're looking at there. Yeah, I think Coyle's safe right now, but he could go. I think it's all a matter of how big of a sell the Bruins are going to choose to do. That's true. Tufty was never supposed to be that guy just yet, but it's now to a point where I don't mind seeing them here because we can try some youthful players on this team, and I hope that's what they do. Need to see Edwards and Lysell get called up as well, and Merkelov is looking good. Yeah, I'm big on this team now. Going to try younger play style. So what do you guys think about that? Do you think that you want to see Lysell, Poitras come back up? Maybe. Well, I'd say Jackson Edward not yet. John Fernacci maybe. I think there's a few options the Bruins have. Create some young line. Create something that nobody could have thought of happening. That would work. I think they would benefit from a few weeks in Providence. However, they would have to go through waivers and likely would not make it through. Maybe Geeky would. I don't think Coyle would, however. Yeah, so a lot of you guys like the idea of calling up some younger players. I mean, at this point, let's be honest. At this point, what's to lose? The Bruins have nothing to lose now at this point. They're so bad. So why not try and call these guys up? You never know. You won't know what you get until you actually see them come out and play. And Poitras needs to come back up. He was working so well. He was playing well. May not have been the strongest guy in the puck, and obviously that'll come with as he gets older, he's still only, what, 20 years old, 21 years old? A few years younger than me. Like, he still has so much learning to do and so much growing to do still. Rather keep Coyle and move Zacha. I can agree with that. I think that there's a very interchangeable amount of things you can do with those guys, whether that is, different line combinations, different trade options, whatever. I think there's a few options that you can do with that. But I think that one of them needs to go. One for sure. And okay, so I don't want to say we're trading Lysell. I just seen that from Marley's editing there as well. But what point do we think we trade him? There's been so many reports or rumors, whatever you want to call it, about a potential move of Lysell. The Bruins just have not seemed to trust him almost. Do you think we trade him? Like, what's the option there? Like, I personally don't think so right now. But if we continue to leave him in the AHL, why not trade him before his value goes down? And Brock Nelson. Brock Nelson, what I made a video about as well. Very much like Brock Nelson. I think there's a lot of potential in him for a Bruins player. That's also true Bruins meat. He don't have the value right now. So I guess it really wouldn't be worth trading him, would it? Or at least right now. I want to see him in the NHL, and I don't know why the Bruins aren't doing it. And going off on it as well, like, there's nothing to lose. Brock Nelson could be a fit. I think like any trade for whether it be Zacha, whether it be Coyle, probably trade the older of the two if they want to make a younger team. There's so many options. Okay, MTV Hill, tradeless V2, Coyle, Pete, Geeky, both Lindholms, Carlo, and Zacha. I'm gonna say the same thing again. I think that Elias Lindholm is the only one that wouldn't be traded this season. In the offseason, certainly an option, in my opinion. But right now, I think it's just they want to keep him at center for now. Every other ready? Perfect. It's a good point, Todd. I like that idea. I do like the idea of including Lysell, only for someone in around the same age as him. And as an asset. I probably wouldn't trade him just by himself. I'd trade him as an asset in a big trade. Yeah, and Coyle's leadership is a big thing as well. I think Coyle could be an option for an A if there's a move made for Marchand or he retires next year or whatever. But I like Coyle still. I'm big on Coyle. Who will take over as coach? The coach right now is Joe Sacco. Assistant coach has been moved to interim head coach for the season. Now, the interim tag is on him. So we still have options elsewhere, but this season the Bruins, according to reports, are going to stick with Joe Sacco as the head coach. But still, once again, there's always room for change. But this season, that seems like what they're going to be rocking with. Because, realistically now, you can only go up from here. And if you get worse, you're staying the same. So, right now, that's the point we're at. That's the point we're at, Dirk. Yeah, I don't think Torts is going to be a viable coach for the Bruins. Now, granted, for this season, I would have said yes. But I think that to get someone in shape, get a team back into shape, he's the right guy. But right now, it could be questionable. Or, I'm sorry, in the future, it could be questionable. Right now, it's a great idea. But, Torts is a head coach right now. I can guarantee you this team would come out flying because they'd be terrified of him. Terrified. I like that idea, Phil, as well. That's what I was saying earlier too. I'm not sure if you were here, but Bergeron right now, I don't think it's coach, but 5 years down the line, I absolutely love it. I absolutely just give him a bit of time to want to get back into it. Zach Hubbard, thank you for becoming a member. I appreciate it. I don't have a graphic for the member, but I can give you a little super chat graphic for becoming a member. I appreciate it. Thank you. Welcome. I believe you're the first member on the channel. I do appreciate it. If Bergeron retires or leaves, I would actually think Coyle will be a great next captain. Maybe in the league for a while. His heart and believe he would have been. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I think that there is a lot of potential to become a leader for Charlie Coyle, or a bigger leader than he already is, I guess we could say. But right now, it'll all depend on what happens with Marchand. Yeah, I do think Pasta will be the next captain if they're going to have one. Well, I mean, they're going to have one, of course, but whether or not it's Marchand, or if it's anybody after this season, because we know Marchand is still, of course, here, but free agency, team's not great. It'll all depend on what happens, but it's also the matter of fact that I don't really know if Pastrnak is a great captain, but we see a lot of guys now coming out. It seems like Pastrnak has a good voice. He's kind of that leadership on the ice and from what we're seeing, but it's still, we don't really know about how it's going to work out, how it's going to play out. Carlo as well has been an option that I've been seeing in a trade. I've seen that someone saying there should have the A. But I've also seen him having the option of a trade. I don't know about that one either. I don't know about a Carlo trade, simply because he's just a solid defenseman. You know, he's a lockdown defenseman. He's pretty good. But yeah, Coyle, Carlo, and Trent Frederic, I think, are all viable options to have a letter for sure. Coyle gives me Nick Foligno vibes in the locker room. Yeah, I agree. Nick Foligno is such a leader on really any team he's been in. Him and his brother Marcus as well. I really like those brothers as leaders. They've showed in their careers how much they care as well. A few-year retool, I don't hate it. I really don't hate it because, you know, as you mentioned there as well, as you mentioned, Todd, you know, the team is locked up. There's a lot of options that they can go with forward, but, you know, they don't need to go into rebuild. They can retool, they can do that, and I think that'll be fine. You know, I don't want to say they're there, but they have plenty of options over the next few seasons. Yeah, Dirk, that I agree with that as well. Swayman's not been great either, and I think that's a big part of how they're losing games. They're, you know, it's something that I don't want to admit to, but the contract's not looking great. You know, I wanted him. I was just saying, kind of sign the deal, but right now, I think it's just. I'm still blaming it on, and I'm still very, very delusional about this. But it's just that he didn't have a preseason, and that's what I'm still hoping it is gonna be. But I believe he can get better. I believe it's just a matter of time. We just gotta wait and gotta see where it goes, and hopefully it's sooner rather than later. I really do hope that. FMG ping. I completely agree. You know, the Swayman drama killed that room, and I think that's a big part of why the team has been playing so bad. I think that's a part of why Don Sweeney and Cam Neely are on the hot seat. I think it's just a bit of issue that a lot of people are still kind of stuck on that in the locker room. Are still stuck on that whole event in the offseason. I'd put JT Miller on my IR on my fantasy hockey. Just give me a moment, ladies and gentlemen. as well as Mark Stone. Fantastic. Jeez. Brody, I think we will get a new coach, but not this season. I think we're going to stick with Joe Sacco this season, but I think after this season, it's going to be time that we're going to look elsewhere. We're going to look for one of these new guys. We're going to look for someone who's been proven able to coach a team. Now, we've seen the trend over the past few seasons of a lot of young coaches coming from former players. That also may work. I don't hate that idea, but right now it's going to be Joe Sacco. Let's go. Only been watching the Bruins seriously for a year now. Took a break after watching them back in 2011. Thanks for being number one source for Bruins news in this hard time. I appreciate it, Zach. Thank you for your support, and thank you for becoming a member, of course, once again. And, it definitely is a part of the season where we're looking for some positive stuff, and news coming out is all pretty important. But it just does suck, of course, to see the team kind of be in the dumps right now. But still got a lot of news to cover. Still got a lot of stuff that this team is going to be working on. So it is very fun to still cover them. I FMG thing as well. Corpusalo. I'm a day one of Jonas Corpusalo on the Bruins. I was so confident that he was going to turn it around. I knew he was going to be a dog. I'm very happy to be able to confirm that and say that I liked what he was doing. And yeah, the Allmark trade didn't look great. It didn't look too good, but Kaslick's been a dog. Corpusalo's been a dog. The first round pick, Dean Letourneau, big on him. I'm excited. I am very, very excited to see how things turn out here with this team and that trade, like over the next few seasons. I think Letourneau will work out. He's a very, 6'7", gained a lot of muscle, and his first year with Boston College this year, not going great so far, but still, first year into it, I'm excited to see him. I was high on him. I wanted him as a Bruins fan, so. Koepke has been a dog. I like this. We're looking at the positive here as well. And Cole Koepke and a lot of these guys have been just pleasant surprises over the past season. And even though we've been down, we got to see a lot of exciting things throughout the season. Obviously we want to see the wins. That's the main thing. We want to see a cup. But the fact that we're seeing surprising things like Cole Koepke, who started off very hot, slowed down recently, but I still like his play. Scratched last game, but that's a guy who I can see being one of these bottom six Tampa players from their cup runs. Like the Tampa bottom six was never anybody you've really heard of if you're not a fan of that team, but they were so good. We see where Yanni Gourde is now, how he's been playing and everything like that. Tyler Johnson was on those teams. He was in the bottom six. There's a lot of possibilities the Bruins can go with if they just do that slight retool that we've been discussing here today. And exactly, Corpusalo once again as well. Seeing stuff from him, it's exciting. It's exciting to see someone that you trade for who you knew was going to bounce back with Bob Esnes. I'm exciting. It's exciting. I know it's also fun to be able to make these kind of predictions that were very, very bold and they actually play out, like Corpusalo's. That was I'm gonna hold that. I'm gonna brag about that a bit. Yeah, that is one thing though. Corpusalo, not the best, but he's getting better. And the long range to medium range shots have been a bit of an issue for him. But once again, that's just gonna come getting used to it. And a top six forward, I think, could be picked up in free agency. Now, I read a few earlier. If I sort by forwards, we can go like Mikko Rantanen. Marner's one. I don't want to pay Marner. Taylor Hall, Mangiapane, Kuzmenko, Sam Bennett, a free agent? Oh, yeah, Sam Reinhart was the one I'm thinking of. Excuse me once again. I do apologize. Robbie Fabry, Gabe Vilardi. What do we think about Gabe Vilardi? I'm high on Gabe Vilardi. I like him. He's very good for Winnipeg. Now, will he be a player that's going to be locked up? Likely. Very, very likely. But I think he would be a great option for this team. The way they're built, the way they're structured. Yeah, a lot of the people that made it to free agency last year were that didn't make it were on the list, but a lot of these guys probably aren't going to make it. Let's be honest. You're right, being optimistic, but I gotta think about it as a legit way as well. I just think Marner's going to be too expensive. Obviously Marner's a good player, but shaky in the playoffs, a bit of a too weak of a player, and he's making $11 million now. He's only going to want more than that, which is crazy. It'll be interesting to see if Marner is going. Well, I think there's an option that Marner goes to free agency because the Leafs don't want him, but it'll all depend. If they can, the Leafs can waste some money on him. Be my guest. Yeah, Steve, you're right. I want to see some trades. I want to see trades as soon as possible. I want to see something exciting for the Bruins on that front on the market. Nick Schmaltz from Utah, 5.85 for 2 years. I'm a fan of Nick Schmaltz. I gotta say, depends on what Utah will want to do as well. I think Utah is an interesting team. They're trying to get better, and we've seen that by going out and trading for Sergachev. And that's a move that they were just trying to get better. You wouldn't make that move if you're not going to, but Swayman for Andy Moog. I mean, why not? I mean, at this point, probably better off, but you never know. Dirk, I am slightly sick. I don't have allergies. I'm just here for an hour talking. It's starting to catch up to me now. We're all good though. We're all good. We got some stuff to go over. I would like to see some trades for some special teams trades. Someone who specializes on the power play. And yeah, when we're looking at that as well, Bruins, that kind of brings up a good idea. Trading Zacha for a player that, maybe ready in 1 to 2 years, that'll be a good option because those teams are trying to buy now. The teams that are going to be willing to do those trades are buying now, getting ready for the playoffs. Zacha could be that guy. And that goes for, everybody that we kind of been talking about here over the past hour. Any of these guys that could be moved, Hampus Lindholm, Zacha, Coyle, Geeky, all of those guys. Those players are going to be NHL ready, which a lot of playoff teams are going to be looking for, and they're going to have not too many, but a few younger players that are going to be willing. They're going to be willing to trade, and I think that the Bruins should entertain those, knowing that they haven't had a few picks over the past few years. That will kind of be the exchange of their picks, so it gives them also the option to be able to see who they want. Lunar, I think a lot of it has to do with quite a few things. I'm first of all, the negotiations from Swayman in the offseason. I think that really threw the locker room off. The lack of preseason. I don't think that Don Sweeney built the team correctly. And then having to move everybody every game on a different line just didn't build up any chemistry. So I don't want to blame it on Jim Montgomery. I don't want to blame it on the entire team. But it's just a pattern of things that kind of all led down to the same path. I would love to see Adam McQuaid move into a higher position with the team. I think that'd be a very good idea. The way that he's been able to handle his role so far has been fantastic. Exactly. Utah, I think, is the number one right now of that. Columbus are still a bit there, and Anaheim's in the middle. I think the way you have it ordered is actually like the good order too. So I think Utah and Anaheim right now, these younger players they have there, Anaheim's defense is so young. I think Utah has a lot of younger players that are still trying to transition into the lineup, but they had so many picks in Arizona. They just have so many players. Those two teams, I think you need to at least go give some players to. They have a lot of cap space. They have a lot of assets that are young that could be useful to the Bruins' future. Oh, you can hear my dog? Yes, there is a dog. I do apologize. Like, she's right above me in my living room. I didn't know. I apologize. I didn't know you could hear that. Sacco to tighten up the defensive style and bring Poitras up to let him roll with Pash. Yeah, I think that's the first order of business. Bring Poitras up, put him with Pastrnak. We've all wanted to see it. We've wanted to at least get a look at it. Just see, may not work, but just we need to see that it don't work to actually be able to say that. But that's one thing I want to do. I want to try. I want to see it. It has to happen. Yeah, Geeky has. I'll agree, Dirk. Geeky has been coming out of his slump recently. I still think that he could be a trade option just because of the way he started and knowing that could return. But if he starts going crazy, maybe even a bigger asset than what he is, which could be another interesting piece of trading him. Adam McQuaid is absolutely a role model for this team. I think that he's going to be a great asset, but it's only a matter of time. I think that this offseason could be that move for him. Let's see. I'll check Twitter or X one more time. See if we get any more updates before I head out, because I'm going to go get some supper. I was going to go supper, seeing the move. I had my internet being fixed, so I had to wait for that, and then I wanted to hop on the stream. But, yeah. The big story of this stream, I guess, the big story of today has been Jim Montgomery's firing. I'm sure as all of you guys know, but for those who just came in, firing him won't make too much of a change, but I think it was something that had to be done. Easier to fire the coach. Don Sweeney on the hot seat. Moves incoming. Hopefully this team gets better. I think that's really what we've been covering in this stream. And we want to see something. We want to see something change. I think that Joe Sacco might not be the guy to do it, but he will certainly be the guy that could at least give him a boost for it. Give him a boost and kind of just see how the rest of the season goes. And scapegoat was the big reason. Something had to be done. I guess they could have made a trade. They've done that, but they just chose Montgomery, just to kind of throw it under the rug, I guess. But hopefully Jim Montgomery finds a new job soon, and I'm confident with everything I have in me that he will be a great coach elsewhere. But I do appreciate all of you guys for tuning in. Thank you, Zach, for the first member on the channel. The channel is members. For those who are interested, the channel is members now. You'll get into members stuff. We're still working on some things like that, but your members get like premium stuff and all that kind of stuff for channels. I'm sure you know kind of the basics of it, but we're still trying to iron some of that stuff out. But I do appreciate all of you guys for tuning into the stream. And of course, some more videos will be coming out over the next few days about all of this stuff, the coaching changes, what we're getting from Don Sweeney, what we may get from Cam Neely, some people speaking out about it, Joe Sacco, the team. All of those reactions will be coming over the next few days as we get them. So if you haven't already, make sure to hit the sub button. Join me here on the channel, covering everything Bruins. Very interesting season now so far. And we're going to have a fun season still. Even though we're not getting the results we want. Still going to be a good season for the Bruins, and I'm confident about that. So, like I said, hit the sub button if you haven't already. You want all your Bruins news, I got it here for you guys, and click the like button as well. And I do appreciate all of you guys. But like I said, that's all I got. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a great day, and be sure to tune in to the next video as we cover a lot more of this. But thank you guys. See you later.